17 Arborvitae trees joined the enchanted forest. Animals noticed the additions right away. Black Bear stops abruptly, takes a sniff, and walks along to check them out carefully. The buck gives them a once-over with his eyes and his nose. Coyote hesitates when he notices them and is running, and stops to check it out before moving on. Small opossum uses her nose with a sniff sniff here and a sniff sniff there, checking out the air all about. And the doe stops eating and munching her lunch when she spots the arborvitae, and over she goes to give them a closer look. The 17 trees provide a directional path for an old animal trail. A wandering fisher hops along its path. A red fox uses the trees as a beacon during a rainstorm. A coyote runs along its path, and then it veers off into another section of the woods. At dawn, a bobcat comes upon the arborvitae, and he uses them as a pathway until the end of the line. The spaces between the arborvitae often act as a gateway for the animals as they come and go. Watch this gray fox as he passes through a space in the line. The waddling possum notices that space and uses it for a gateway also. Listen while the mama bear calls her cub to follow her through the arborvitae. After coming through the arborvitae, this little Miss Skunk moves right along into the enchanted forest. Sometimes a family of animal comes together, such as this babe called a fawn, and his mom called a doe, and the dad called a buck, all move through the forest together. Sometimes the arborvitae serve as a meeting place, a place to meet and greet. And that's what we see with these two coyotes. As the coyotes leave, we notice a family of raccoons. 4 babies and a mama go wandering through. The arborvitae trees have also become some sort of a pantry. We notice different animals coming to bury their food along the line of trees. First we have this squirrel, and then we have this big black crow coming to bury something very carefully. He even picks up other leaves to put on top of it so that no one could find his treasure. The gray fox takes her bounty and brings it to the trees to hide for a later date. The chipmunk searches frantically for a place to hide her wonderful acorn. While some animals bury food for later, other animals look for buried food so that they may add a layer of fat to help them through the coming winter. In the background, a skunk passes through the arborvitae. In the foreground, a coony rabbit munches away on wild grass and clover. A male deer munches on the little treats that he finds along the forest floor of chuckaberry, winterberry, and other delights. The woodchuck eats grass, but he also likes plants, the leaves and stems from the wild asters, the seeds from the daisies, and the Peter's pence blossoms. Mama Skunk and her baby make a great excavation team. With their sharp claws, they rid us of insects, grubs, and worms. The possum also digs under leaves for food. He likes insects, and ticks are his favorite. While the female deer heads over to a red azalea bush, the male stops to munch on a patch of wild winterberry that grows in front of the arborvitae trees. You can hear these squirrels chatter as they scamper and play near and around the arborvitae. After eating, fishers engage in rough and tumble play. The joy of play is exemplified in this coony rabbit and squirrel as they jump species to engage in rambunctious play. Playtime for these skunks looks more like a wrestling match. When it comes to the excitement of play, these rabbits take the prize, and they're jumping for the sheer joy of it. Meanwhile, Mr. Woodchuck takes a moment to stand up and see what's going on. Some animals, like this gray fox, just like to stop and sit and watch. Meanwhile, an alert bobcat sits and carefully observes the sights and sounds of the forest. And further on, little legs get tired and they just have to stop and rest. It is no surprise that when Mama Doe moves to discover a hidden second twin already laying quietly on a bed of leaves. After eating and playing comes rest time for this red fox visiting in the forest. In another part of the forest, this fisher takes time to rest. While some animals rest, others prepare to leave, such as this skunk heading back towards the arborvitae and home. The adolescent raccoons go in a different direction. They leave the Arborvitae behind them as they head in a different direction towards their home. Just to liven things up somewhat, two rabbits hip-hop their way through the forest to their home in a brush pile. Keeping the Arborvitae to his right, the bobcat meanders slowly out of the forest towards his den. A large buck watches very carefully as he walks towards home. As dawn breaks, we see one of the largest visitors, a male black bear, heading home from his monthly visit. And a red fox runs quickly away from the Arborvitae onward towards her home as dawn breaks. Thus concludes 1 month of visitors to the 17 Arborvitae trees. Credits are listed alphabetically.